Okay. We have a lot of history here at the Slatington News Building, which you can see it being built while the bridge was being built.
What year was that?
That is 1900.
Wow.
Okay, 1900, 1901. I'm going to give a very brief synopsis of the history of the Slatington News before the building was built, and then get into the building and all that sort of thing as well. The Slatington News was a weekly newspaper that covered all things Slatington and its vicinity starting in 1868. Originally, the weekly was published by D.J. Gottschalk and John C. Bright, who were both from Bethlehem. The offices were established in the Mosteller building. In my research, that seems to be the brick building that's on Main Street across from Center Street that used to house Northern Lehigh Sporting Goods years ago, okay? So it sounds like that's where the Slatington News first started. The early years of the paper involved the changing of hands on a number of occasions, along with a variety of print shop locations. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into all of that. If you're really interested in that, Charlie Evans has a really great website, and he has the entire history of the Slatington News there. For today, I'm focusing on the building and when it was owned by the Rock family. On January 1st, 1898, James G. Rock became the sole owner of the News Publishing Company, and then 1 year later assumed the responsibility of editorship. By this time, the newspaper offices were located in the basement of the Citizens National Bank building at the corner of Main and 2nd Streets. With the weekly circulation continuing to grow, Rock aimed to build a larger building to accommodate his expanding business. Time was of the essence, and the construction of the former Slatington News building coincided with the replacement of the 2nd Main Street Bridge over Trout Creek. In February 1900, at a Borough Council meeting, the Borough Solicitor was directed to draw up a petition for the new bridge. At the very same time, Rock asked for line and grade on Main Street along the north side of Old Trout Creek Bridge. That meant that he had already acquired the property immediately to the north of the old bridge and was thinking about building a newspaper office there. The property that he purchased was sandwiched between Trout Creek on the east and the Slategale branch, Berksey branch, of the Lehigh Valley Railroad on the west, as Robert said. The property was long and narrow and had no real street access, so it must have been pretty relatively cheap purchase from the estate of Henry Kuntz. By the fall of 1900, he designed his news building, which again you can see being built there, and he had the idea to have the newspaper office level with the sidewalk on the bridge. The location afforded his newsroom on the 3rd floor a strategic position in the borough, being located on the bridge, which was the principal connection between, as we know, uptown and downtown. In August 1901, just a year later, the Slatington News was occupying its new building alongside the new Main Street Bridge, and its address was 420 Main Street. And there you can see the building as it was in its later years. That's a picture from 1989. A description of the new structure was found in the Slatington News on August 24th, 1901, and this is what it said. The compositing and job departments occupy the 3rd floor, while the press department occupies the 2nd floor. There are 2 other floors and a basement remaining. The 4th floor contains 3 large offices, one of which has already been rented. The basement and 1st floor are very convenient for some manufacturing plant, as the railroad facilities are excellent. Over the years, the building's arrangement changed to meet the growing needs of the businesses, resulting in a number of additions. The Sanborn fire insurance maps show that change. In 1902, it lists the functions of the various floors. A club room was on the 1st, press room was the 2nd, composing room was on the 3rd, again 3rd floor being level with the bridge, and an office on the 4th. By 1913, there was an addition already put on at the rear of the building and to the front of the building underneath the bridge. A dwelling now was located on the 1st floor, as well as a press room, which according to James Rock was located in the addition under the bridge, a set of doors being all that separated it from the dwelling space. 1st floor location for the flatbed press was necessary because of its great weight. Printing and composing functions were located on the 3rd floor, and then offices on the 4th. By 1927, the Sanborn map shows that the 4th floor became an apartment. In later years, according to James Rock, the 1st floor served as his family's dwelling, while the 2nd floor was storage for both the newspaper and the dwelling. 3rd floor was the newspaper office with editor's desk and a dressograph machine, and the 4th floor an apartment. I don't think we can see it on this. I'll give you a couple photos here. So we have news building here on the right-hand side as we look up Main Street. Okay. Now this is a very, very old photo. This is before World War I, and the reason I can tell it's before World War I, if you look right in the middle, where's the old junior high school? It's not there. It's the old, this building right here was the original public school building that they tore down before they built it. Yes?
I recall in 1927 having the 1927 Slatington newspaper right here.
Oh yeah? We got to take a look at that then. So this is another look as we go down from uptown to downtown. Okay, very narrow.
Wow.
And that's the current house down there, right?
And then Kern House at the bottom, yep. There you have James Rock at his office desk. That's the Rock Brothers, which I'll talk about the Rock Brothers in just a second, putting together the last edition of the Slatington News when they owned it. Okay, I was looking for a picture which I can't see, and that's okay. But I've seen a picture at one point in time on this side of the building showing a long steps. Yes, you beat me to it. Okay, so later there was a long staircase that was installed on this side of the building. It was that stairwell that Slatington High School students used when departing the Berksey on their way to the old Slatington High building on Main Street that later became the junior high school. So back to the Rocks for a second. So we got James G. Rock. In September of 1923, he brought all 5 of his sons, Oliver, Russell, Alan, George, and Earl, into the partnership to publish the newspaper every week. They continued to control the paper business until 1967. And okay, so there you can see 4 of the 5 sons. By the 1960s, only Russell, Allen, and George remained associated with it. Oliver left the business around 1930 to become an insurance agent, and Earl in the 1940s when he moved to Bethlehem. In March of 1967, the Rock brothers sold the paper to H. Boyd Nanovic of Palmerton, who also owned the Palmerton Press. While the Slatington News continued to be published through the mid-1980s, the Slatington News building became expendable. The weekly began being published by the Lehighton Times-News, and by 1975, the building on the bridge was sold. In April of '92, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania began to consider plans to replace the Main Street Bridge. That started a very long 16-year process until the bridge was finally replaced. Red tape held up the building project, and so too did the historical designation of the old Slatington News building. Unfortunately, the status of the bridge project made the building owner at that time, Gary Diaz, defer necessary maintenance to the building. In time, the building became an eyesore, and plans for a new bridge included the demolition of the building. The building was raised in the mid-2000s, paving the way for the current Trout Creek Bridge that was completed in late 2008. This last photo I have here, well, I think this next one's a duplicate again, but you can see the Rock family, James Rock and his wife seated, and then the 5 sons at rear. Okay? And now I'm going to turn it back over to Robert, who's going to have a little history on the Muschlitz building.
Okay, last presentation of the day, we're going to be talking about the Muschlitz family. And the more I delved into Charles the doctor, he was quite the individual. He was involved in a lot of different things. So we're going to be talking about the property just above the General Morgan Bridge on the southwest end, which is the house. I keep hitting the wrong button. That you can kind of see the Mushlitz home surrounded by all those grand school buildings. Gottlieb Mushlitz came to Philadelphia on October 3rd, 1753, and settled in Germantown and had several children. One son, Robert, was a cooper by trade. Robert had 5 children, and his one son, Robert, was also a cooper by trade. He made his way to the northern Lehigh area, becoming a farmer, and followed boating on the Lehigh Canal. He married Lavina Boyer and had 12 children. Son Robert F. became a teacher and was also a partner in the Kuntz and Mushlitz store, and later became a partner in the Mushlitz Peter and Company. And after 4 years, he became owner of that company. Robert was one of the organizers of the Citizens National Bank, serving as director and vice president. And I'm sure you'll hear more about the bank next year when we cover the 500 block during our Main Street presentation. Robert married Amanda Medson, and they had 3 children, Dr. Charles H., Dr. F.A., and Edgar, who died in infancy. Dr. Charles was born at Lehigh Gap. There's another shot of this house. On December 18th, 1881, after graduating from Slatington High School in 1896, he attended the American Commercial College in Allentown, Lafayette College, and graduated from Jefferson Medical College in 1904. I could not find any information about the American Commercial College in Allentown, but in Texas there were 3 branches of college called the American Commercial College that closed around 10 to 12 years ago amidst a federal student loan scheme. So I don't know if that was related, if they had many branches throughout the country or not, I'm not sure. A commercial college is a school focused on training individuals for business or commerce-related courses, or careers. At Jefferson, Dr. Charles became chief of the orthopedic clinic there, and while a member on the staff of the Allentown Hospital, he attended weekly clinics at Jefferson from 1925 to 1928. Also in 1928, he went to Europe to study at the Lorenz Clinic in Vienna. Upon his return to the States, he completed a course in special fracture work at Harvard University. He was in charge of the orthopedic department at Allentown Hospital beginning in 1929. Now, circling back to 1908, Charles married Minnie Roper, who was the daughter of Dee Dee Roper. They had a son, Robert, and a daughter, Phyllis. After the death of his wife, Minnie, he married Myrtle Kreitz in 1938, who was the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harry Kreitz of town. They had one son, Charles Henry. In 1909, Charles started his general practice of medicine at his home at 435 Main Street, which is there. Dr. Mushlitz was at times a guest speaker for various organizations. One such instance made the newspapers. On July 30th, 1937, he was guest speaker at the Slatington Rotary Club's regular meeting. The topic he talked about was life-shortening habits. Mushlitz said, quote, "Human beings should relax and play more in order to live longer." He stated that the average lifespan was becoming shorter and offered 6 reasons for lower life expectancy: alcoholic indulgence, overeating, smoking, sex indiscretion, uncleanliness, and overambition as the main causes. Mushlitz performed the normal duties of a small-town physician, and it should be remembered that this was a time during when doctors made house calls or would travel anywhere in town where their help was needed. Some examples. Late November 1910, a Mrs. Prestwood was going down steps at the rear of her Walnut Street home and tripped. She fell heavily to the ground, breaking her arm. Dr. Mushlitz was summoned and reduced the fracture. 2 days later, at the abandoned Fulmer Slate Quarry, Tim, a number of juveniles were playing tag. 10-year-old Russell Evans, son of the postmaster, fell from the roof of a small building, breaking his leg near his ankle. Once again, Dr. Muschlitz was called and reduced to fracture. In May 1911, he removed a large tumor from the face of William Owens. And of course, sometimes patients would come to him. On Tuesday, July 18, 1916, a Mr. Holland, a sewing machine agent of Palmerton, was making his collections near the Applejack tank and was walking along the Lehigh Valley Railroad tracks. A rider on a passing passenger train threw an object that struck Mr. Holland on the head, resulting in a nasty gash. Frank Shire, who we talked about, who was working on his farm, saw Holland's plight and drove him to Dr. Muschlitz's office where he had, had the wound dressed. I don't know about you, but I'm more interested in that Applejack tank than about Mr. Holland getting hit in the head. Does anyone know anything about that Applejack tank?
That's right down, the bottom is still down there. Now, Tim Reinhardt lives in the house that used to feed it.
Okay.
There's a creek there.
Yeah.
And they used to dam it off up at the house there.
Okay.
And open it up to fill the tank, to fill the engines with water.
Okay.
The bottom is still there.
Okay.
But
Down near Rockdale,
Google,
right?
Yeah.
Google has that, if you go on the Google map, it doesn't have there, it has it way down.
Okay.
By Rockdale.
Okay.
Well, there was a Rockdale too.
Right.
That filled.
Okay.
With a Rockdale, there was a hotel right along the track.
Right.
Rockdale.
Right. Okay. In January of 1922, he examined the pupils in the local schools. A few days prior, he attended to Carl Perry, who injured his leg while playing basketball. So you can see Muschlitz was like an emergency room of his day. He saw and did a little bit of everything. In addition to his medical practice and hospital duties, Charles somehow found time to participate in many civic organizations and activities in town. He was medical inspector for Slatington schools, as I just mentioned, director of the Citizens National Bank, served on the Slatington Board of Education, Slatington Borough Council, president of the Lehigh County Medical Society. In addition, he was past president of the Lehigh County chapter of the National Foundation of Infantile Paralysis, served as chairman of the March of Dimes campaign in 1941 and 1942, and was a physician for the Lehigh County Selective Service Board. Wait, there's more. Member of St. John's Reformed Church, Slatington Masonic Lodge, and Knights of Friendship. Charles died unexpectedly in December of 1947, and we have some tombstones. That's Charles. Dr. Charles' son, Robert F., was born February 5th, 1910. After beginning his schooling in Slatington, he attended Mercersburg Academy, Princeton University, and Jefferson Medical College, located, of course, in Philadelphia. Mercersburg Academy is located southwest of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, in Franklin County. It is an independent independent co-ed college preparatory boarding school and day school for grades 9 through 12 and postgraduates. Following his education, Charles became an ophthalmologist and practiced in Slatington until his unexpected death in 1962. Robert married Eunice Page of Scranton in 1936. Following her death in 1947, he married Doris France of Neffs in 1951. Charles' daughter Phyllis was born on February 26, 1912. After graduating from Slatington High School, she attended Wesley College and the Philadelphia Conservatory of Music. She taught for 15 years at the Lehigh Valley Association of Retarded Citizens, called LARC back in the day. She was married to Dr. Marvin Thomas, who practiced dentistry in Slatington from 1937 to 1964. So you can see they were a well-educated, smart family. Some tombstones. That's Robert. And that's it.